Today I'm going to be working with Castor on doing some petting and working on my approach, and then we'll bring in my husband and have him target multiple people. So now that he's standing pretty comfortably parallel to the fence when I ask, he's coming over sideways toward me, very solid, and now I just want to work on doing some petting. So like that sideways was really good. He didn't come all the way up, but he did step over, and so that's what I'm looking for. And I've already worked on me walking past his withers and standing next to his hindquarters, and all of that looks great. So the next thing is I just did a little quick review of me targeting and handing my hand out and having him touch it with his shoulder. And then I'm just going to pet him, and we're going to kind of switch it a little bit up. And now I'm going to be petting him from now on. So I just kind of still, like there's a bug on me, I kind of make more exaggerated movements just to do a bit more desensitizing with him. I'm just less careful, like banging on the gate or, doing a movement or something. I'm okay with all that stuff because I want him to get used to noises and movement and things like that. But the goal here is really just to get him being able to be touched and letting me pet him when I ask. So I'll just click him there. And that's going to be the next process here. So see, he's a little worried, so I just held my hand still. And then he kind of brought his neck to me, and then I pet him. So I probably could have just started with like one stroke of petting him. I have already pet him on the face and the neck and on the shoulders before in the previous videos when we weren't using protected contact. So I could have broken it down a little bit more, but he seemed to do okay with multiple strokes. Once I get past his withers, I'll do less because it's all very new. But he's staying nice and calm. It's important that you click while your hand's on the horse. So I want him to associate that this is what he's getting rewarded for. It's not just standing there, it's allowing me to touch him. So now I'm kind of working my way back on the withers there, and that looks really good. So, and again, he's standing nicely for hay. You might have to use something a little bit more rewarding to your horse. I mean, obviously you want to start with something that is what they will work for, that's the lowest of value, so you can feed a lot of it, and that's hay or Timothy pellets or cubes. So you want to start with your lowest value and work your way up, because you don't want to start with grain. That's the mistake I made in the beginning with both Castor and Atlas. So now I'm going to work on approaching. So I'm just going to kind of take a step back. I'm going to do a couple things here. So I do want him to feel comfortable, so I don't want to be next to him all the time. I want to give him a little bit of release of pressure, and then I want him to be okay with me coming up to him. So I don't want him to be afraid every time I approach him, and really with the Mustangs, it's something I really have to work on. And you can get easily stuck in just standing next to the fence or next to your horse and not really practicing it, so I really had to make a point to come back and forth and approach him at different angles. So that's why you see me leaving off camera here. I'm just a couple steps away, and I'll just approach at different angles, and then I'll reward him for remaining calm as I come up to him. So that's just an important lesson. You can see he kind of tensed up a little bit. So I probably should have broken that down a little bit more for him, and maybe just clicked when I came up to him and without touching him, and then added in the touch a little bit later on. So that's something you can do if your horse is a little tense. But yeah, I was just giving him a little break, like stepping away, let him chew for a second, and then coming in, and he was a little bit less tense that time. And then I'm going to mix it up. I might stand there for a little bit, then back up. That was really, really nice. He didn't tense, he didn't flinch. That looked great. I know you can't really see his face, but you could tell in his neck he didn't tense up and just stayed nice and level in his top line. Again, there, that was perfect. And I'm just kind of staying in the general area, but moving around a little bit, so I'm not touching the same exact spot on his neck every time, but I'm moving enough to where it's slightly different, but it's not so different. Like I'm on his neck, then I'm on his shoulder, then I'm on his hindquarters, to where it's not too scary for him. We'll do that later on, but he's just not quite ready for that. Perfect. That's awesome. I like that shot of his ears because you can see that one right ear is on me, but the other left ear is kind of swiveling around. He's listening to things happening around the barn. He's kicking at a fly and swishing his tail. So he's nice and attentive. He's not shut down. He's not super tense. So that's all fantastic.
Hi, Betty.
That's great. A little bit further down on his shoulder there, you just couldn't really see because of his head. So probably the thing I would have changed here is I would have mixed up me standing next to him while he eats and then me standing away from him instead of always away, because I want some of it he can practice me stand like him standing next to me and being relaxed while he eats his treat. I want some of that, but with the wild and feral horses, you need to release your presence as pressure. So I also want some of that, as you saw in the previous videos where I'd back up and it made a huge difference in his demeanor. So I'd like to do like half and half in this video, that I would change that. Very nice. Touched his shoulder there. No flinching. That's fantastic. So flinching is the same as he's leaving town. Like, so in my book, when they're flinching and there's not a fly or something else, if I touch him and he flinches, we're not moving on to something else. We need to work on that spot because he's tense and we need to fix that before going on. So flinching isn't just like, oh, okay, it's he's still standing still. Mentally, there's some issues there that we need to figure out. So he isn't flinching. That's fantastic. I'm really happy about that. You can see later on that he has some issues with me touching his back, and so it's really interesting to watch him go through that because he was cool with the petting, but once you set your hand on him, he's like, "Oh, what is this?" But this is a good first step, so we're working our way through. I'm just gonna fast forward through parts so it's not super long, but we're just kind of just petting again in different places, but I want to keep the duration about the same. I don't want to pet for 5 seconds one time and then 30 seconds the next time. I want to keep it all around the same and then build it up. Kind of pet on his chest here. He was really good with that. And when you're using, like if you're using a round pen fence or like a gate like this, just be careful of your arm placement. The goal definitely is that you don't put yourself in any danger and the horse doesn't kick out, and we've planned and we set up the environment to be successful, but sometimes things happen. So I'm very cautious of where I'm putting my hand and when, what else is going around, or going on around you, because I don't want to put my hand through the panel and then he, kicks out when I touch his chest or something. Same thing when I work my way onto his leg here, and I'll have a little bit better angle here later on. I want to be very aware of where my hand's at. You don't want to put your hand in one rung and then you kind of have to twist it and it could get stuck in there. We don't want any of that. So just kind of be nice and safe with that. And if you need to, like which I do on his hind legs, I just start touching with a stick or a whip and we work on that, and then he'll graduate onto my hand, or maybe I'll use like a brush or something and then my hand. It's kind of up to you, but I do like to use the whip first, especially on the legs, and very especially on the hind legs. But I'll probably fast forward through this because you can't really see what I'm doing. That looks great. That's fantastic on the belly there. Because he's only had 2 sessions of me standing behind him and like walking to his hip and back. So that's fantastic for him to let me pet him there. That's really great. But it's showing that the process is working. I'm building up my steps. I'm not just, oh, we just tried to pet him today and it didn't work. It was, he can stand here calmly. He's okay with my presence near him. He's okay with me walking the length of his body. He's okay with me petting him here. He's okay with petting me there. And then it all builds up and then it works out. So That's the goal. That's how all training should go, ideally. That looks fantastic. And you can see my petting is much shorter past the withers because he's just not used to it. All of this is new. So it's not those long multiple strokes. It's just like one stroke. I'm clicking while my hand is on him, taking it off and giving him a reward. Yeah, there we go. And I just did more strokes, but I just said I didn't. So he is handling it well, so I will give him that, but be careful, be aware of your horse and their body language. So I'm gonna get my husband out here and we're gonna do some targeting of just multiple people, especially with the Mustangs. They're very finicky about any little tiny change, which you've seen before. I want him to accept other people and go to other people, interact with them, take cues from them. So I'm trying to get him to go to his hand. And the Castor's like, no, this is a rewarding spot for me. There we go. He's not super interested at first. So I'm trying to just have him do the same thing that I do, just having his hand out as a target and seeing if he'll just look at it. So really I probably should have clicked and fed him here just for looking at his hand. That's all we should have done, was just have that first. There we go, finally. And so I should have clicked and fed that. Have him clicked and fed that or have me done it, because it took him a while to actually interact with another person. I think he was just cleaning up some hay that I had given him, but we definitely want to reward that. And I let him keep it nice and long so that he doesn't really have to actually touch his hand to take the hay out. I want him to just build his confidence, and we'll, just like everything else, we'll work it up over time, and he can eventually be pet by other people and hand fed and stuff like that. So let's see if he'll, there we go. Oh, that's perfect. That was a great try. We should have gone ahead and maybe fed him a little bit earlier, but that's okay. I'm not going to worry about that too much because other people are going to have different timing than you, so it's okay as long as it's not always super delayed and it's not as reinforcing as it should be for the horse. But if he's a little bit off, that's okay because not everyone's going to be on the same schedule. So we'll just let him kind of see both of us together because I wanted to just see one. He's used to me, so see one new person, then kind of put us together. So have him touch me and then see if he'll touch him. And he'll earn more food for touching him than he will me, so. He's not so sure. Very good. So again, he should have fed a little bit sooner.
Oh, he didn't? Oh.
But he also doesn't know like what he's doing. I'm trying to teach Castor and him, so it's not a big deal. As long as it's positive, we're good. Like a positive experience for Castor. So that's all I care about. So I'll have him touch my hand off camera. You just couldn't see it. And then I'll give him a treat, and then I'll go ahead and ask him to target his hand. There, he's being a lot more willing. He doesn't take as much time to do it, so that's good. And it's good that he's giving him a nice big piece of hay, so.
Two people are scary. That's Penny anyway.
Very nice. He's not ready to be pet, but he is okay with targeting. We'll take it. That was good.
He's getting it. Just hold it like that so you can get it.
I'll have him target my hand again. And we'll just kind of rotate. I just want him to get used to other people. Other people are good. They're not scary. Because especially Mustangs, they can get stuck on one person and not want to interact very much with others. And Castor's not too bad. He's a pretty curious horse. He's a pretty friendly horse. Atlas is a lot more standoffish. But everybody needed it in the beginning because he is wild. So yeah, that was awesome too. Very nice. He's very brave. And I like that he's kind of reaching over the gate a little bit. He wants to interact. He's trying
He
to
really
connect.
didn't
I like all of those
touch it
things.
with his leg.
And I don't care about his positioning. I don't care like if Castor's parallel or if he moves around. I don't care. I just want him to stay connected and not leave. That's all I care about. Very nice.
Check his head
And
later.
see how he stretches out a lot more than he does with me? He's still skeptical. He still doesn't want to get super close, and that's fine. He's trying. So, but it's interesting to see the difference in the body language. But he's more willing here. He immediately went and wanted to target his hand again.
Because
So
he
that
liked
is
that
good
and he
too.
just wanted to get
Because
more of
I
it.
think he had some more hay there he could have continued to eat,
Trust me.
but he went and wanted to go do another target. And he took
He's
it
not
closer
cheating
from his
exactly
hand that
the way
time. It
you
wasn't
guys are
the
gonna
end
do.
of the hay, it was right next to his hand. So that's
Yeah.
perfect.
Here. Faster target. Come here.
So I'm trying to ask him to come back to my
He'll
hand.
turn his head if
He
you
took a
do that.
minute, so that's okay. I really want that he wants to go toward another person. That's fantastic. So I'm not going to be mad or worried that he took a minute to come to my target. I'm happy that the other one is being so positive.
He's still shooting. He'll come.
And he probably should have taken his hand down when Castor wasn't going over there, so the target's not up all the time, and just kind of bringing it up once he has his attention over there. But that's all right. There we go. Good. And he let him pet him too. A little touch there. Very nice.
But I taught him to stand next to the fence so then I can
But I mean, we start in the
touching
protective
him next to him
contact,
without me
and
like
then we do some more of this, and then do the same thing outside of
the goal
protective
was to teach
contact,
him to stand next to
and
the
then he
fence
can
so then
start
I could
petting
touch
Castor,
his side.
kind of doing some of the training, some brushing, and then just more stuff as Castor learns. So
He'll come
it's
over
just
here
good for
and
them to
follow my
start
hand.
learning that other people are also good right from the beginning. So my goal here is just to kind of continue with this training and do some more
Pat over.
petting, but on the left side. And he was gonna stuck because he's been doing the right side, no big deal. He's just trying to offer me what he thinks is right,
We were
and they
doing
can
this
have a
side so
little
he
bit
thought
of a
it was
difficult
easier.
time differentiating what side he's
Here,
supposed to
we
do.
were gonna do this side.
That's no big deal. He's trying, and that's all we care about. He hasn't left town. He hasn't been bad at all. He's just trying to figure it out. So I'm just trying to show him with my hand target, straighten him out, and then ask him to side pass over. But I want to reward him once he's just turned the way I want because I don't want to turn him around and then have him side pass. And then he didn't get rewarded right away, so he might just offer that other side instead. So I want to make sure that both sides are very equal in rewards so that he wants to give you both sides.
Well, I gotta do the petting first. Because I want to do it in
So
stages.
his side passing toward
I
looks
want him to
pretty
do
good.
this and this.
Everything looks really nice
Then I do
for
this.
Castor. Definitely Castor was the easier of the two, for sure. So, and he was my just like surprise Mustang. I went to pick up Atlas and I ended up with Castor. So,
No, it's
um,
funny.
he's just a really cool horse. It worked out well because if I had two Atlases, I probably would have just been like, okay, I'm done.
Well,
One Atlas is plenty.
something good.
Lots of good learning, but there is a limit. But so I probably should have done again less petting on this side because he's only done it on that other side. And I haven't done a lot of touching behind the withers, so maybe just one stroke. But I think I was pretty excited about where Castor was. And he's handling all well. I'm not saying that Castor's not okay with this level of training right here. He's doing fantastic. He looks nice and calm, relaxed. He's standing great. His um, body language looks perfect. Like he was totally fine with it. So it wasn't like, oh no, I did this wrong. I probably should have done it a little bit slower, like if you're starting over and doing it, but it's not a big deal. And from this angle, you can see a little bit better where I'm touching down on his front leg, and he was pretty good with his front legs. The back legs took a little bit more, and that's normal. It's not the end of the world. It's more important that I'm very systematic and I do every step and they're successful at every step so everybody stays safe and then the hind legs aren't a big deal either. So a little jump there. So I want to just kind of be paying attention to every jump. All of those are important. It's a different side. I was coming toward him. We didn't do any of that approach on this side at all. So um, I definitely got a little excited and skipped a few steps here. And Castor was okay with that, but I think like a horse like Atlas, he wouldn't have been okay with that, and he would have backtracked a little bit. So that's why I'm very wary about it. But he did excellent. He learned a lot of things. Um, great, great session for him.